Hey everybody, this is Tom with VermiBag. Now I've done one other video showing you how to put a wood stand together for a Little Mammoth. It was a little bit quick and it wasn't 100% complete, so I'm going to do another one, but it's actually going to be quicker. Most of this stuff's going to be fast forwarded. I'll leave a link here to the other video if you want to watch it as well. But this one in particular is going to kind of go over and show you how to do the center strap area. It's real simple to do, but I didn't really show you how to do it on the other one. This one also going to address where to drill the holes. Because on the other one I drilled them too high. Remember, I had to have the center support a little bit higher than I wanted. So on this one I'm going to go ahead and drill them down at that 2.5 inch mark. And then that way I can put the center supports in and they'll be just perfectly level. What's nice about that is because you can put a piece of plywood or something on top of your worm bin and use it as a countertop or a bench where you're not getting in it. Here's the dimensions of the wood you need to cut and get ready before you can put your stand together. Okay, so these are the pieces you're going to need to make the stand. First you have your long pieces here, which are 40.5 inches long. Then you have your side pieces. You have 4 of those, and those are at 26.5 inches. Then you have your legs, 4 legs. Now the legs I have are 39 inches long, and that's just out of convenience for the length of the boards that I happen to have. But you can make them a little bit longer if you want, probably up to about 41 inches or something like that. Now these are 2x2s, and these are 1x6s, and these are 1x6s. And the last thing you're going to need are 4 pieces for your center strap. These happen to be 2x4s cut in half, but they can be 2x2s just like this, and they're 4 inches long. After you've cut all your lumber to the proper dimensions, you need to lay out your boards all in a row. So I have the 4 short pieces and the 4 longer pieces. Then you're going to take a small drill bit. Now this is really small, and these are the wood screws that I'm going to use. They're small as well. Now this is going to be put here in the ends in order to hold these little boxes together as we put the legs on later on. So the first step is to go ahead and take that drill and drill right on the end of each one of these, which I already did. And you want it in half the width of whatever this lumber is you're using. So in this case, this is 1x6s, but it's actually only about 3/4 of an inch thick. So this is, roughly 3/8 of an inch in. So drill a single hole in each one, just on one end. Don't do it on both ends. So on one end, drill that, and then go ahead and place one of these little screws in the end of each one. The next step now is to form the 2 boxes. So the first thing you want to do then is grab 2 of the long pieces and 2 of the shorter pieces and place them on some type of flat surface. If you can do it on a bench like this with a piece of plywood or something, it's much easier. If not, you need to do it on the floor. It's important that it's on a level area that you're doing this. So position these boards out so you have a screw in each corner. So by doing that, you're guaranteed that you're going to be putting it together right. And just go ahead and even up the sides and go ahead and screw in that small wood screw. You do this to all 4 corners and you'll form a perfect box. Okay, now that you have the second square done, go ahead and put the first one on top of it. Okay, to install the legs you need your 2-inch wood screws. And then you're going to need a pilot drill bit you can drill in. And again, make sure you use a pilot hole, otherwise you're going to split your wood. And it's easiest to go ahead and just pre-drill all these holes first. Just stick a leg in place and find the midpoint of the leg. In this particular case, it's 1 3/8. So at 1 3/8, you could just draw a line down at 1 3/8 and then have a perfect line that's centered on your wood. And then drill 4 pilot holes, 1 here, 1 here, 1 here, and 1 here. And just do that all the way around on all 8 corners. So I'll go ahead and put the first leg in. I'm just going to go ahead and start these screws just slightly. And I'll come to this point here and make sure this is down nice and firm. And then just hold it tight in the corner. And screw it in. I'm just going to put one on the side for right now. And you can get away with just putting one on each side for right now and then come back later and go ahead and put the additional screws in. Now don't do anything to the bottom when you only screws in it right now. This is just acting as a spacer because this is the bottom of the stand right now, so you're going to have this 6-inch space at the bottom. So I'll continue around and put the other 3 legs on and put 1 screw on each side. Now that I have all 4 legs on, I just need to flip this thing over and put it back down into this lower piece. Now this is a place if you have 2 people, it's a little bit easier. It's a little awkward to flip this thing. It's not heavy, but it's awkward. Now do the same thing. Just go around to all 4 corners and put a screw in each side. Okay, so this install today is based on the aluminum rod kit that I have as an option for these bags. So if you do buy one of these kits, what you're going to get, at least for the Little Mammoth, are 4 corner rods and then 2 a little bit smaller center rods for the center support. Then you're going to get 4 of these corner gusset pieces. And these really help stiffen the stand up quite a bit. And all you have to do, this is an old one, you just drill a hole in each corner there on 3 corners and tiny little screw and put it on. Now, as far as the drill bit to use for this, these are metric, so they don't necessarily go along with American size drill bits. So what I would recommend doing initially is get a scrap piece of wood here, find a drill bit you think is about the right size, then drill a hole through it and see how this rod will go through it. This one here, it goes through it, but it is tight. So you're not going to want to use that. But this other one, which happened to be 11/32, it goes through pretty good. So I think I'm going to try and do that. And I can always widen the hole slightly by running the drill bit back and forth a little bit. So now the other option is if you don't have to buy one of these aluminum kits. I like the aluminum rods personally, but you can also just get some wooden dowels. You have to at least go with 1/2-inch dowels for they're strong enough. So these are going to be a little bit more risky, I suppose, drilling in because you're going to splinter the wood pretty good. So you're going to have to drill a pilot hole first. But these will be the same exact 8-inch, cut them 8 inches long, and then they'll go across the corners. So it'll save you a couple bucks if you want to do it yourself with wood dowels, or if you want to buy the aluminum kit, just like this. That's what I want to base this install on right now. So now you need to mark the points where the rod is going to come out. Now this is based on the 8-inch rod that I have here. And based on that, you need to go 5 inches. So on each of the sides, and come down a couple inches because that's where you're going to actually be coming throughout. And just put a mark on the side of your stand right there that shows that point. And then do the same thing on the other side here. So those are going to be the points that your rod actually goes through and then comes out on the other side. You also want to mark the depth right now, if you know how deep you want to do this. Now the Little Mammoth is different from other stands, like I mentioned before. So you need to mark this down 2 inches now. And that's going to be the point that I drill in and then drill across. And do the same thing on all the 4 corners like that right now. Measure your 5 inches out and 2 inches down. And put that little X on each one of those spots. Okay, so now to drill this, take the drill bit that you picked that works for the width of the rod, and at one or the other, wherever you mark this 2 inches down and 5 inches out, start drilling a hole straight in. Don't try and do an angle right off the bat. Just drill straight in and only go in about 1/8 of an inch into the wood. So I'm going to put the drill bit right there on that starting point. I just went in just a tiny little bit. So you can see this is about 1/8 of an inch deep. I didn't go all the way, you definitely don't want to go all the way through going at that straight angle. But by putting it in here and going down just a little ways, about 1/8 of an inch, it'll keep this drill bit from sliding out when I try and drill this angle. Now the only other thing I need to do is I don't know where to go to here because I haven't translated this mark up to the top. So I need to bring that mark up here so I know what I'm shooting for this angle right here. Okay, so I brought these marks up. I brought this one up to the top where I can see it right straight up from the hole. And I brought this one up from the mark down there. So now I know at the center point here and the center point here. So take your drill bit, make sure it's level. You might want to look at a couple different directions. Then I'm aiming for this point right over here. Now I'm just coming back and forth, make it a little bit wider. So now that you drilled this first hole, go ahead and take one of the rods and slide it through and see if it's going to hit over here where you need it to. And this does. I have a little bit of play. I may have kind of widened this or bored out a little bit too much, but it lines up right perfectly with this mark here. So now I want to go over here and drill in 1/8 of an inch and then angle across. Now I'm going to leave this rod in there because it's going to give me something to look at from the other side. Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going down to that 2 inches down and 5 inches out, and I'm going to go straight in for about 1/8 of an inch. That just gives me a starting point for the drill bit won't slide out. Now I'm going to go at this angle, and if I position this rod, I can see that my drill bit and my rod are lining up pretty good. And again, make sure you have your drill bit as level as possible. You have a second person there, they can eyeball it for you. It's a lot easier. But I'm going to guesstimate it about like that. Let's see how that goes in. Yeah, it's going to go in pretty good. I'm going to widen it out just a little bit. There we go. It slid right in. So I'm going to do that same procedure now for the other 3 corners. Okay, now that you have the 4 corner supports in, now I need to mark for the center support. And to do that, just measure the length of your system here, your stand. Mine's 41. So at 20 and a half, which I already put a mark there, 20 and a half. Okay, so this is the center point of the bag. 1.5 inches on each side of this is going to be my 3-inch space that I want for my center strap that comes off of the bag. So place one of your supports, your 4-inch pieces of 2x2, or like I said, this one happens to be a 2x4 split in half. Place it where it's even with that mark 1.5 inches from here. And then just mark, you can just eyeball this and put a couple little marks here. That's where I'm going to want to drill through here in order to secure this. Then place the other one over here with this other 1.5 inch mark away from the center. It's going to go right about there. And then again, go ahead and just mark. You can eyeball this. Put 2 little marks here. We're going to drill a pilot hole and then we'll install these. Now before you install the center supports, you need to drill the hole through them for the rod. If you try and do it afterwards, they're not going to line up right and the rod won't go through properly. So it's best to just get a clamp, and I'll show you here, but we'll clamp these things together. And then in one fell swoop, I'll just drill the hole from one side to the other. And that way I know there's a point where these supports are lined up, and so your rod will go through real smoothly there when we install it. Okay, so all I did is take 2 of these supports, clamped them together on the bench here, then I'm going to go ahead and drill a hole right straight through both of them up. Then try and make this thing level again if you can. Eyeball it down this way and sideways, try and go level. See, now that rod will go through them completely. So we know that there's a point where these will line up perfectly and the rod can slide back and forth. So now let's go ahead and install these onto the stand. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and install one of these. I'm just going to place it here, push it flush with the top. That way I can put a piece of plywood or something on top of this if I want. Line it up where my screws are centered. Hold it tight. Now I'm not going to put the second one in yet because I'm not sure exactly what angle this needs to be in order for the rod to slide. So go ahead and grab one of your rods, put your rod through here, and then grab the other support and place it there. Because if you didn't drill these things center, there can be a right and a wrong way of doing this. This can change in depth. So you want to make sure that when you slide this in, that it'll, notice the difference there? Actually, it doesn't line up. It doesn't line up on height, and it doesn't line up on the width here either. So this is actually the wrong direction, so I need to flip that around the other way. Now if I go in there, it lines up perfectly. So take it, and then get it for the rod will slide back and forth in here. And I have this positioned at my mark, and it's lined up with the screws. I'm going to go ahead and put in one of these screws. You see the rod still goes through. And I can put the other screws in. And that's it. Rod goes through there nicely. Puts in the bag to support the bag. And it's flush with the top, so we can go ahead and put a piece of plywood or something on the top of this if we want to use it as a workbench later. The last thing you might want to do is add the support for the mortar tray, for the upper mortar tray. And to do that, you just need like a 1x2, or you can use another 2x2, that would work just fine. But a smaller piece of wood, you don't want to put a 2x4 or something like that, something fairly small. And you need to cut it, measure across, and cut it for this width. This happened to come off another one. I'm going to put it back on so it's a little bit long. And then measure down 19.5 inches. And I found that's the best mark on these for giving you enough room for the harvest, and then also giving you enough room to pull out the second mortar tray. You can play with it and adjust it as much as you want. It's pretty simple. So measure down 19.5 inches on both sides. Go ahead and take and pre-drill this again. Always pre-drill. Place where you can see that line that I marked there at 19.5. Place for that right on it. And go ahead and put that in. And then just go ahead and screw the other one up, back up to the 19.5 and put it in. Then you do the exact same thing on the other side, and you have your upper support. Before we go out and mount the bag in here, there's one more final thing we need to do. And that's put these casters on. Now these I just pull off of old chairs. They're constantly throwing them away. I see them in dumpsters and stuff, so I always pull the casters off them. And these work great. They're free. But you can buy these at Home Depot or Lowe's or something too. But and to install this, all we really have to do is flip it upside down and drill some holes that will match to the width of this. And the same thing I'd do the same thing with this as you did with the rods. I'd drill a hole in a scrap piece of wood and then go ahead and put this in until it's nice and tight. And then that's a drill bit you're gonna use at the bottom of this thing. Now I already have these drilled in here, but I'm gonna flip it over and show you what it looks like anyway. So you can see here on each of the legs, there's a hole. And once you have this hole the right size, then you can just place your caster, and it should go in there pretty snugly. Now if you happen to mess up and you drill the hole too big and it keeps falling out, you can always take a little bit of paper and just place a small piece of paper there, and then shove it down with that paper. And it takes up that extra space and it fits a lot snugger. The final step on this long video is actually installing your bag. That's the most gratifying anyway. So just take your bag out of your package. Go ahead and start with one of the center supports. I normally do the one away from me. And place it through the rod support. Then come across, do the same thing on the opposite side. Then take any one of the corners and start placing the corners. You spin this around. As you can see, this bag's actually different again. So I've decided to go ahead and offer the Li'l Mammoth with the zippered ventilation panel or with a solid lid. I said I wasn't going to. I was trying to get away from so many options, but it just makes for a really nice system. I mean, having this zippered ventilation panel, it just gives you the best of both worlds all the time. I mean, if it's really, really humid and your system's retaining a lot of moisture, you want to go ahead and unzip the lid. It lets a tremendous amount of airflow go through the system. It'll keep your system a little bit drier. Yet, if you're in an area that's really hot and dry, you want to retain that moisture. So in that case, you go ahead and zip this thing closed and it'll retain a lot of its moisture. That's it for today. This video is longer than I thought it was going to be. So until next time, this is Tom.